Good morning, everybody. How's it going? Hope everybody's having a beautiful morning. So, let's just get down to it, shall we? I recently watched, not too long ago, an interview in Good Morning Joe from I believe the host's name was Mika. I think that's her name. I don't watch the show as much. And was interviewing Joe Biden about the sexual assault claim from Tara Reade. So here's a little clip of that.
The New York Times has investigated this exhaustively. They didn't find any of your former staff members were able to corroborate the details of this allegation. She did file a police report a few weeks ago with the D.C. police. Your Senate documents at the University of Delaware were supposed to go public, and then they were resealed. Stacey Abrams said during the Kavanaugh hearings, I believe women. I believe survivors of assault should be supported and their voices heard. Kirsten Gillibrand tweeted, do we believe women? Do we give them the opportunity to tell their story? We must be a country that says yes every time. They now both support you. Nancy Pelosi falls into this category too, as well as many other leaders in the Democratic Party. Are women to be believed? Are women to be believed unless it pertains to you?
Look, women are to be believed, given the benefit of the doubt. If they come forward and say something that they said happened to them, they should start off with the presumption they're telling the truth. Then you have to look at the circumstances and the facts. And the facts in this case do not exist. They never happened. And there's so many inconsistencies in what has been said in this case. So you just look at the facts. And I assure you, it did not happen.
About your University of Delaware records. Do you agree with the reporting that those records were supposed to be revealed to the public and then they were resealed for a longer period of time until after you leave, quote, public life? And if you agree with that, if that's what happened, why did that happen?
Because, look, the fact is that there's a lot of things of speeches I've made, positions I've taken, interviews that I did overseas with people, all of those things relating to my job. And the idea that they would all be made public in the fact while I was running for public office, they could be really taken out of context. Their papers are position papers. They are documents that existed and that when for example, when I met with Putin or when I met with whomever, and all of that to be fodder in a campaign at this time, I don't know of anybody who's done anything like that. And so the National Archives is the only place there would be anything having to do with personnel records. There are no personnel records in the Biden papers at the university.
Certain there was nothing about Tara Reade in those records, and if so,
I am absolutely certain.
Why not approve a search of her name in those records?
Approve a search of her name?
Yes, and reveal anything that might be related to Tara Reade in the University of Delaware records.
There is nothing. They wouldn't. They're not there. And if it's, I don't understand the point you're trying to make.
The point I'm trying to make is that
there are no personnel records by definition.
The point I'm trying to make is that you are approving and actually calling for a search of the National Archives records of anything pertaining to Tara Reade. I'm asking why not do the same in the University of Delaware records, which have raised questions because they were supposed to be revealed to the public and then they were sealed for a longer period of time. Why not do it for both sets of records?
Because the material in the University of Delaware has no personnel files, but it does have a lot of confidential conversations that I had with the president about a particular issue, that I had with the heads of state of other places, that would not be something that would be revealed while I was in public office or while I was seeking public office. It just stands to reason, to the best of my knowledge, no one else has done that either.
Let's just get down to it. He repeats a lot of this repetitive, stuff about the National Archives, but yet he keeps defending not having anybody do any investigation in the University of Delaware, which I believe was stopped. They were going to show something, but then they stopped it. So for a minute, you hear in the interview, if you watch the whole interview, he's constantly saying like, oh, National Archives, that's where it would be, that's where it would be, because I think he would know whether or not they have something or not before he could say something like that. So he's not dumb. Second, then he says the stuff in there is confidentiality. You know, politics. So I'm thinking right now he's about 85% guilty and 15% not guilty. And the reason why I say that is because Tara Reid has told her story, and she and then on top of that, her mother tried to call Larry King a couple years back in a very vague kind of way, discussing that issue without actually revealing any names. But she did. It was on record. It was recorded. So there is evidence of it. It exists back in '95. So, which reminds me, isn't it interesting that Tara Reid is an actress, and there's a lady by the name of Tara Reid, just like there was a lady by the name of Monica Lewinsky, and a singer named Monica Lewinsky? Yeah, let's get into that. Okay, so if you don't think your politicians are those type of people, are we forgetting Bill Clinton? I mean, are we forgetting the sex scandal? Are we forgetting the Oval Office? I did not have sexual relations with that woman. You forget all that denial stuff. You don't think Biden will do the same? You think people who are guilty are going to tell you they're guilty until there's actual proof, physical evidence? Let me tell you the cookie jar theory. Okay? Here's the cookie jar theory. You go into the cookie jar. There are three things that are going to happen. One, you're not allowed to go into the cookie jar, but you go anyways. One, you're going to grab the cookie jar, you're going to go over there and say, and when they ask you, hey, did you take that cookie jar? You're going to say, yeah, I took that cookie jar. You're just going to be very honest about it. Just going to, just own it. Second, you're going to be asked, hey, did you take that cookie jar? You're going to be like, no. And you're going to wait a while, but eventually it's going to eat you up inside. You're going to feel guilty, and then you're going to fess up. That's another option, okay? The third option, okay, which every politician has practically gone on. I will deny it until there's literally an audio recording, a photo, literally a real physical witness there, 2-3 witnesses, or video camera recordings, okay? Otherwise, or documentations. Otherwise, nothing. So that's why he's trying to avoid getting any information from the University of Delaware, because why not? If you're an honest guy, if you really have nothing to hide, just say, okay, yeah, reveal it, show everything. Just don't show any of the, political confidentiality, like anything that has to do with our American people. But if it has anything to do with a sexual complaint and it has her name in it, put it. That's it. Just look for her name. And I have nothing to hide. I'm sure there's nothing there. If he was real honest about it, but he's not. Now, did you think he was going to say that on TV? First off, is he going to tell you he's guilty on TV? No, of course not. This whole television thing is all about ratings, first off. Because I want you to think of this scenario. Let's say there's 2 reportings. Okay, and don't take this as the wrong way, but this is just some of the majority of the people in the world. This is just, let's be honest. Are you going to, in the news, are you on the news tonight, are you going to watch the report of a mother who had a healthy baby be born cute as a button? Or are you going to watch the one where 2 people got shot in a neighborhood? See? It's about ratings. Because think about it, they show there's a lot of bad things out there, and there isn't a lot of good news anymore. There's more about trying to get the most brutal, like violent stuff, because people watch that stuff. People are like, oh my God, that's happening. And it's like, I don't know why people get into it, but they get sucked into it. We're all guilty of it. I mean, it's like watching a car crash, everybody's got to look for some reason to see how it happened. And that's what the ratings are. I feel like this wasn't really a hard conversation or a real argument. I mean, she tried her best, but it was just kind of a stage. It was like seeing a wrestling performance. Jesse the Body Ventura, I've said this before, but I loved his way of his analogy of it, because I thought it was the same thing. They're like professional wrestlers. They're out there pretending and acting. I think the same thing with mainstream media and politics. They're pretending that they have to fight each other in an air way, but then later on they're like, oh, we're good, we solid, So I think this was more about ratings, because Joe was never going to fess up, and he was never going to show anything guilty. Come on. I mean, everybody's not going to take what I'm saying about the whole idea that he said National Archives only, and he wouldn't go into the University of Delaware for the investigation, let them just do their own investigation. They're going to argue that. So that's what I'm saying. Also, the New York Times actually came out and said that they're not claiming 100% that he's off the hook. They're not claiming that what she's saying is not true. They just haven't found anything yet. So that argument that's being brought up it's just so kind of a narrative to say like, hey, he's been excused. Like somebody looked into him and he's already good. So I feel like that's kind of misleading, Now, Honest Joe is not honest. If we're not, let's get real, guys. A couple years back, they actually did show videos of him ripping off people's speeches and not giving any of them credit until he was called out on it. And then he says, oh, he just thought of it on the top of his head. That's what he said. And then he said he was one of the top of his class. He was a great scholar, and he wasn't. He was actually not the top of his class. So, and he didn't have 3 degrees. He only had 1. So it's like all this stuff that he was saying just to win is another thing that it's starting to seem like history is repeating itself. He is now running as the general nominee for the Democratic Party. And this scandal comes out. Now, I'm just saying, let's not let history repeat itself. Let's not believe in Joe's lies, because we don't know if Joe is telling the truth. He can say, oh, I'm not. It's not a lie. It didn't happen. But he's really looking a little guilty the way he's phrasing things. And I'm just saying we don't want history to repeat itself, because Monica Lewinsky shouldn't have been shamed. Everybody from those times, I'm actually ashamed, because we should have been shaming Bill, not Monica. She's a woman. She didn't deserve that. She obviously was young. Everyone has done a lot of really crazy things when they're young. And when you're hooking up with the President of the United States, it's hard to believe that you're not living a thrilling life in a way. But to call her the one who ruined the marriage and she's a slut and so forth, that's disrespectful. And now this is probably going to happen to Tara Reid, because Tara Reid decided to come forward. They're going to say, oh, she decided to come forward now, and all this stuff. Maybe they won't slut shame her, or maybe they will slut shame her. Maybe they'll find out that, and they'll say, well, she wanted it or whatever. Who knows what the narrative is nowadays? I'm just saying, we can't let it repeat itself. We need to at least we should let the investigation happen in Delaware. We should let them show the documents. There shouldn't be anything to hide. If Joe's really honest, there shouldn't be anything to hide. The National Archive, sure, put that in there too. But also show that. It has to be said. It has to be done. I want to leave on this note. Now, I'm not saying that you should believe every woman that tells you a sob story, obviously. We can't believe that. Men are liars, women are liars. No one is equally honest. There's no genuine honest people yet. But we should at least hear the story and then find the facts. And we should at least, and we should believe them at least in the time being, because this is a real serious claim. Until we have other reasons to believe this is a lie or just an exaggeration, or they're crazy or something, or we've heard like there's actual proof that they've done something more nuttier and they're just pathological liars, then we can be like, okay. But other than that, we have to, I'll leave it with this. Friends, when I meet new people for the first time, my friends, before I meet them, will tell me something about them that's all negative. And already my mind has a mentality or a mindset thinking that this person's going to be now bad. And then when I meet them and I shake their hand and I talk to them, I realize whatever they were saying was an opinion of their own. I have to first meet this person. I first have to see with my own hands whether or not this person is genuine, or there's something, or we're not going to get along. Anyways, that's going to do it for us today, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Please like, subscribe, or share the channel. Catch you guys later. Peace.